Alright, so welcome back, guys. So, this is your host, Clickclaxer1. So, you may remember this deck from a long time ago. The Dragunities. I used to do deck profiles on these a lot. You may remember me from such YouTube videos as Best Dragunity OTK Deck Profile October 2013 and shit like that. Because back in that day, I was working with like a pure Dragunity build, trying to use like Infernal Reckless Summon to bring out, what was it? Red Nova Dragon, and then also I used to use Dragunity Leviathan to bring out Trident Dragon and stuff like that. And then I eventually evolved that into like a side build using Majestic Star Dragon, and then eventually I evolved that even further into a Stardust Dragon Assault Mode deck because it was so easy to bring out Stardust. Well, I mean, I didn't really keep up with Yu-Gi-Oh! For many years, mainly because I just really don't like Konami. I don't know if you all know me, but I hate Konami. Every time I get a chance to beat up on them, I will take it because I hate them so much. So I pretty well stopped playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Seriously for a long time. But then within the last year or so, I started looking into Dragunities because I love Dragunities. They were my babies back in the day. Like if I had to use them in any of like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Games, whether it be Legacy of the Duelist, Tag Force, anything like that, I would immediately seek out, okay, what Dragunity cards are in this game and how could I use them with a combination of other cards to make a strong deck, because they are very strong, especially now with all this new support that I saw about like Dragunity Whirlwind and Remus, who for some reason is like a $3.50 card, and Legatus, who also is for some reason like a $3.50 card. I don't understand that. They're good, but they're not that good in my opinion, but they are very useful in a Dragunity deck. So this is what I have here. I refused to abandon my Stardust Dragon Assault Mode because it was so effective back in the day, and it is still very effective today. It's just, it's not the only thing that I'm going for anymore. It used to be I ran 3 Assault Beasts and 2 Tenkis in order to get out the Assault Beast. So that way I could get my Assault Mode activate and immediately go into the Stardust Dragon to bring out this guy right here. But let me go ahead and break it down a little bit for you for what the theme, the overall objective of this deck is. It's mainly just to overpower your opponent. So you need to also bring out, I like to go for my level 10. So this was the other thing. I remember when this guy came out, the Ascalon. This was several years ago. This was obviously pre-COVID. I did not remember about this guy. A Reed Behair, or however you fucking pronounce his name. I don't know. Most of these guys' names are very odd. They're like Latin or something like that. Maybe some Greek names there as well. But he's very good. And because of this Koos guy, or however you pronounce his name, I'm just going to call him Koos, he is able to make that shit happen so much easier. Because you can take basically a Vajrayana plus your Koos and go into your Arid Behair or your Ascalon, and bada boom, bada bing, you're moving. And you want to summon like one or the other depending on what situation you're in. Almost never do I summon the Ascalon unless I know that I can just like banish monsters to go for game. So it's also nice that they have at least 3,300 attack. So, but yeah, we have the 2 Stardust Dragon Assault Modes. Those are pretty well obligatory because that's what you would like to go for. He's like a better version of Cyber Dragon Infinity in my opinion. So, and then the obligatory Tempest. You have to run at least 1 Tempest. He's very good if you've got like a useless Dragunity tuner that's in your hand and you need to get him in the grave and like perhaps bring out a Mistletoe in addition, then he can do that. Because you can discard this card and 1 win monster to the grave. Look at all these guys. With the exception of the Assault Beast and the 1 Zephyros, which I'll explain Zephyros a little bit later. If you've watched my old Dragunity videos, then it should come no surprise that I'm still running Zephyros. But then you can add 1 dragon monster from your deck to your hand. This actually used to be the way back when I was using Majestic Star Dragon in combination with my Dragunities. This used to be the way that I could get like a Stardust Shalong or a Majestic Dragon from my deck to my hand, is because this was one of the ways to do it. I think I also ran Gay Dirge back in the day. You notice that I don't have a Gay Dirge. I'll go over the extra deck in a little bit. But yeah, this deck has definitely changed up quite a bit from my 2013 version for good reason. You still run the obligatory 3 Mistletoes, and that's because he is so good. Especially if your Dux gets infinite impermanence. You can still do work with Mistletoe, unless they've got another infinite impermanence. But I really like it a lot. You run 2 Assault Beasts because just running the 3 Assault mode activates isn't enough. I feel like running Assault Beast is still really good. I mean, if you even want to use it to bait their, what's it called, the Ash Blossoms, I mean, if they're dumb enough to do that, I guess, then by all means, do it. Like, please. I would rather you do that than the freaking Dragon Ravine when I'm trying to do that. So, the 3 Legatus's, I run 3 of him because he's really good. Not only is he basically like a free special summon, like, who's the Caduceus? Who's the new Consular monster? The Caduceus, yeah. He's basically like this guy, except he has another effect. And make sure you don't miss your opportunity to use this effect. If you were to like summon a Dux, and then you summon the Dux and either bring a Koos or a Phalanx to equip to him, and then you special summon Legatus, make sure you activate Legatus's effect right then and there. It says, if a Dragunity monster card is in your spell and trap zone, you can target 1 spell trap card on the field, destroy it. Use that as an opportunity to pop one of your opponent's back row. Why not? I mean, if you miss that, obviously when you use Dux and the Phalanx or the Koos to summon the Vajrayana, you can still do it again, or if it's Koos, you can technically even go for Barca. Barca's actually a funny story. I'll get to him when I get to him, but he's very good now. His price went up a little bit because of how useful he is nowadays. But yeah, Legatus, very good. Extra special summon allows you to go into additional, especially with the Barca. I love the Barca. If you've got multiple tuners in the grave, then just using the Dux, special summon the Legatus, you can start going to some crazy combos that I'll show you in some replays later. And then you've got your Senatus. And at first, I actually bought 2 Senatus because I was going to use them in the deck. Then I actually took them out. And then I was like, wait, hold up. This guy is basically a walking Dragon Ravine. So you gotta use him. I wouldn't use more than 3 of them because of the fact that he does neg your hand. But he pluses your field. So it's sort of a trade-off. It depends on the situation, right? It's not like Dragunity Whirlwind where it just pluses your field, but only for certain situations. You got to run the 2 Senatus. There are going to be times with Dragunity Whirlwind where I will just summon a Senatus and like a Koos, and then I'll make the Vajrayana, and then the Vajrayana brings back the Koos, and immediately go into a level 10 or something like that. But he says you can discard 1 Dragunity card, which is nice, because sometimes the Oubliette, which if you know anything about me, I love field spells and I love counter traps. Those are like my 2 weaknesses. Dragunities are nice because they had a field spell, and now they've got a counter trap. I was like, oh, hell yeah. I mean, I was running 3 of them back in the day, but because of the limitation that you have to have a Dragunity Synchro monster on the field, I've actually limited it down to 2. Or I guess technically semi-limited if we're using proper diction here. But the you can obviously use Senatus to discard an Oubliette if you want. Or sometimes Dragunity Whirlwind is useless in your hand, right? Because you're going first. So you need to find some way to get the advantage, and Senatus can help you just discard that useless Dragunity Whirlwind in order to bring out a tuner from your deck. Now, I think, hold on, let me see. Does it say? Especially you can only use this if oh yeah, he also has another effect. Apparently, you can only use this effect if a Dragunity card you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect. You can destroy 1 Dragunity card equipped to this card instead. Okay, that fucking sucks. I don't care about that. But the point is that you can bring a Dragunity tuner from your deck to this card, equip it, and you can't special summon monster from the next deck for the rest of the turn except dragon monsters. I don't think that I'm going to have that problem except for this guy, so I don't even really worry about that. But he's extremely good because even if you don't have a Dragon Ravine, usually back in the day it was Dragon Ravine, right? To help you get your tuners into the grave. I also run the Cards of Consonance because I've got, I think, a lot more tuners than I used to back in the day. I'm trying to remember. I used to run 2 Acklys and 3 Phalanxes. Now I only run 2 Phalanxes. You need to run 2 of them. I'll get into that in a little bit, but you need to run 2. Don't run 1. A lot of people run 1, and I was doing that for a while because I was like, oh yeah, maybe I don't actually need 2. No, if you're trying to go for this build where you want to get out Stardust Dragon Assault mode ASAP, then no, you definitely have to run 2 Phalanxes. But you got to run the 2 Senatuses. Just trust me, you'll love it, you'll enjoy it, and he's very good. So a lot of times I'll go for the Koos because I can take the Koos and the Senatus and boom, go into a Barca or something like that. Although, don't waste your Barca until you really need him, until he's actually going to give you an advantage, because he is super good. We'll get into him later. And then you've got Zephyros. Okay, you've got the Ravine Zephyros combo back in the day. Remember, you play Ravine, you discard Zephyros, you bring a Phalanx to your hand, then you use Zephyros' effect to bounce Ravine back to your hand to special summon Zephyros. Then you play Ravine from your hand again onto the field, discarding that Phalanx that you just added to add a Dux. Then you play the Dux to equip Phalanx, go into special summon Phalanx, go into Vajrayana, equip Phalanx, special summon Phalanx to take the Zephyros and the Phalanx and go into another Vajrayana like that. As so. He's super good. I don't run 2 of him anymore, though. Mainly just because I don't want to run 44 cards. I don't really like running over 40 cards, but the 3 Dark Ruler No Mores are pretty well necessary. If I go first, I would prefer to run the Solemn Brigade down here. But, excuse me, going against like a Dragoon deck, it depends on the archetype that you're running against, right? You might want the Dark Ruler No More. Dark Ruler No More is so freaking good. But, yeah. I would run at least the 1 Zephyros. He is, if you're going to run the Gaydurge, he can obviously be brought to your hand and stuff like that. So that might be another reason that I take out the Atum and put back in Gaydurge. That's the reason why I have Zephyros. And then you've got the obligatory Dux. If you don't run a Dux, then you're going to get fucks, because this guy is still so necessary for that. No, if you have a Phalanx in the grave, is Senatus, and you don't have a Dragunity card in your hand, if you summon the Senatus, how are you going to get that Phalanx from the grave? If you summon a Legatus, how are you going to get that Phalanx? You got to run the Dux, and you got to run 3 of him. He is still mandatory at 3. Legatus may not be mandatory at 3, although I like him at 3. Dux is definitely mandatory at 3. I like 2 Kuses as well. I like to have a lot of options just in case if something happens to one of my Dragunity tuners. So that's another reason why I have the 2 Phalanxes. The 2 Kuses is a good number. That's the reason why I run the Cards of Consonance, just in case, you know, you have too many tuners. Typically, it's the Remuses that I'm discarding with Cards of Consonance, but sometimes I'll get a Phalanx or a Kus in my hand and I need to get it in the grave. That's where you want your Dragunity tuner, so that way you can start equipping them. But when he came out, Dragunities became extremely viable because he can count as a level 4 monster when you're going for a... So he can only help you to summon Dragunity Synchros. So only your Aribaheras, your Ascalons, and your Vajrayanas, and your Gaydurges, and any of your Barcas, any of that shit. But it used to be so difficult to summon Barca back in the day, until Kus came out, because look at Barca's requirement. 1 Dragon Tuner, so that's normal, right? They're all like 1 Dragon Tuner. But a non-tuner Wing Beast monster. So you can't take Vajrayana and Phalanx and go into Barca, because Vajrayana's a dragon, not a Wing Beast monster. But now, with Kus being able to modify his level to 4, and then you take the Dux, you equip Kus, unequip him to special summon him with Dux, or the Legatus, or the Senatus that you just brought Kus from the deck to the field, or equipped to him and then special summon. Now you can actually make the Barca. And the great thing about Barca is, let's say you had a Phalanx that you had in your hand in Cards of Consonance did, and then you had a Dragon Ravine that you sent Kus to the grave. With Barca, he can equip as many Dragon Dragunity monsters to him as possible. So if you special summon the Legatus for free, and you have a Phalanx and a Kus in the grave, you equip both of them, they both special summon themselves. Now you can take the Legatus, or whatever it is that's still on the field, maybe it's a Zephyros, and you can take the Kus and the Zephyros, or the Phalanx and the Zephyros, and make a Vajrayana. And then you can still take the other monster with Barca and make one of your Dragunities, the higher Synchros. Extremely good, Kus being able to do that. Remus, the reason why it's okay for Dragunities to not need terraforming at 3 is because Remus is basically your searcher for that. You discard him, add a Dragon Ravine from your deck to your hand. He is also useful in that once per turn, well, it's not once per, well actually hold on, is it once per turn? You can only, okay, it is once per turn, but he gets banished after he uses this next effect. He can, if he sees a Dragunity monster on the field, he can special summon himself for free back from the grave, but he can only, you can only synchro for Dragunity Synchros when using him. So that's the one downside. But there have been times, oh my gosh, such good combos where I had 2 Wing Beast monsters on the field. I had a Remus in the grave, and then I used like the ducks to special summon the Phalanx. And then I can go into more high-level stuff because the Remus actually allowed me to do extra synchro summoning where I didn't think it was possible before. So he has saved my ass many a time. I can sort of understand why he's $3.50, but damn. I mean, if you've ever listened to the Latin history, you know, the Italian history, how Rome was born, right? It was a fight. No, it wasn't exactly a fight. But Romulus, well, actually, was it a fight? Romulus and Remus? And then, of course, Romulus won out in the history because that's the reason why Rome was named after Romulus. Romulus is like a 50-cent card. And Remus is a 3. Maybe that's the Just Desserts. That Remus is finally getting his place, his rightful place in Yu-Gi-Oh! Despite being getting the short end of the stick in history. I don't know. But he's very good. You got to run 3 of him. And then you got your 2 Phalanxes. Your Phalanx is how you summon your Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, because Kus can't do it. He requires a non-tuner Synchro monster plus a tuner to summon him. So it's like a Vajrayana plus a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. That's the other thing. Make sure you're not messing up. You have to use your Vajrayana. Oh, for Pete's sake, sort. You have to use your Vajrayana plus your Phalanx in order to make Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. There is no other combination to make this guy. It has to be a Vajrayana plus a Phalanx. Mistletoe, however, you can take him plus a Phalanx and make something else that's in here. Like a lot of times I go for this Axel Synchro Stardust Dragon because he's extremely good. I can't wait till he comes out in TCG. And then Dragunity Glow, this card's a little expensive. It's like $2, something like that. It allows you to add your Mistletoes from your deck to your hand. It also has a second effect, which I almost never use. But there is a time where you might have a dragon monster that's equipped. Like if you had a Kus, a Phalanx, and a Remus that were all in the grave, and then you summon the Barca, you can equip all 3 of them. But unlike Kus and Phalanx, Remus cannot special summon himself from the spell trap zone and bring himself onto the field. That's one of the downsides to him. He has other good attributes, but that ability does not exist for him. Unless you have Dragunity Glow, then you can. So that's I only run one of it because it is searchable with something like Romulus. I almost never summon Romulus either, but so far this is like really working well for me. Cards of Constance, I already explained that. Dark Ruler No More, that's pretty self-explanatory. Terraform, that's self-explanatory. Dragunity Whirlwind, so it's that whole like Cyber Dragon sort of thing. Then you can special summon 1 Dragunity Tuner and 1 Winged Beast Dragunity monster from your deck, but negate their effects. Then if your opponent controls a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck, you can immediately synchro summon. It does allow you basically a free special summon, right? You special summon a Dragunity Tuner. So I like to usually go for the Kus and then a Legatus or a Senatus. Something that doesn't get an effect when it's normal summon like Ducks would. But you can start going into your synchro summons ASAP, which is really nice. If I am looking for a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, then what you actually want to do is go for the Phalanx plus one of your level 4 Wing Beast monsters, Dragunity Wing Beast monsters, and then you can go into the Vajrayana and then bring back out the Phalanx and then immediately go into a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Everyone knows how good he is. He's pretty annoying sometimes. But that's possible now because of Dragunity Whirlwind. Gotta run 3 of them. Gotta run 3 of them. It's cheap. Run it. This card was a recent add, Dragunity Divine Lance. Basically, it's another easy way. It's sort of like a Senatus in that it's an easy way to bring out another tuner. So equip only to a Dragunity monster. It gains attack equal to its level times 100. Also, it is unaffected by trap. Okay, that part I don't care about. During your main phase, you can equip 1 Dragunity type Dragunity tuner monster from your deck to the monster equipped with this card. So you can bring out any of your tuners, your Kuses or your Phalanxes. It's extremely effective. I didn't think it'd be that effective, but then I started using it. Again, it's another Dragunity spell trap monster card, a card that you can discard for Senatus if you don't actually want it. Although I almost end up always using it, so it doesn't matter. And then again, obviously, Dragon Ravine is... It's not as much of the heart and soul of this deck as it used to be back in the day. But it is obviously still very good, okay? And then Assault Mode Activate. Obviously, you know why that's in here. And then this is to be able to help stop your opponent's spells and traps. But you do have to control a Dragunity Synchro monster. That's the reason why I only run 2 of them instead of 3, like I used to. It does allow you a secondary effect that if you have a level 10... if you control a level 10 Dragunity monster, you can have 1 Dragunity monster you control Gain 100 attack for each face-up card that's currently banished. I mean, it's usually only going to be like 100 or 200 extra attack points for one of my level 10 Dragunity synchros. So, Ascalon, his effect is not once per turn. You can banish a Dragunity monster from a grave, then target one monster your opponent controls. It has to be a monster though, so don't go all crazy thinking you can get rid of the back row. But you can banish it. Now, it does target, but it doesn't destroy. It banishes. So if you're running, for instance, I like to use the AI for the ABCs a lot because they are very aggressive in nature. Their effects go off when they go to the grave. They'll never go to the grave because they get banished. And he's got 300 attack. So that's pretty nice. He also has one other, I think. If the Synchro Summon card is in its control, in its owner's control, is destroyed by an opponent's card, so either by effect or by battle, you can special summon one Dragunity Synchro monster with 3,000 or less attack from your extra deck. So he's pretty good, but this is the main guy that I like to summon, the level 10 Synchro, if I'm going to make it at all. When your opponent activates a monster effect, this is a quick effect, right? So you can banish a Dragunity monster from your grave. So the monsters they would typically target would be your winged beasts and your synchros. Because once they're in the grave, there's really no chance of them coming back. Maybe hold on to the Mistletones, but the synchros and the winged beasts, you pretty well don't ever need them again. But you can banish that, and then you can negate the activation. And if you do, banish that card. So if you activate a card, assuming that he's on the field while Dragoon is on the field on your opponent's side, at the same time, you activate a card, Dragoon tries to negate it, you can negate Dragoon's effect, and normally stuff like Solemn Strike would try to destroy Dragoon, but of course it can't be, right? This guy banishes, so Dragoon goes bye-bye. So that's the reason why he's really nice as well. I love stuff that banishes my opponent's shit, because I never want to see that shit again. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, after damage calculation, you can banish that opponent's monster. Again, I'm going to use the ABCs because it's a very simple example. Normally they get an effect when they go to the grave. They get banished instead. If the Synchro Summon card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. Simple as that. What did I say in my last couple videos? You need cards in your possession, in your deck, that are able to have multiple sorts of effects when they're on the field, in the grave, or something happens to them and there's a resolution upon their destruction or going bye-bye that can help you gain an advantage over your opponent. You need it. Otherwise, you're going to just lose because you're not going to be able to keep up in terms of your opponent's speed. And then Trident Dragon, I'm carrying him over from the olden days. He's still good. The ability to just pop 2 cards on your side of the field in order to attack 3 times, he's still a game changer. He can OTK. That's the only reason why I'm keeping him around. He's probably really cheap by now. Back in the day, when he came out in Raging Battle, he was like $10. I think I shelled out almost close to $10 for him back then. And then you've got your Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. If you don't know what he does, he's been around a long time. Obviously not as long as like Trident Dragon, but he's been around a long time and he's very good. Scarlight, he's easy to make. He's good for certain situations. I like him. Tenny, he's a good way to open up if you go first. He's just good. He's a little expensive though. This guy is so good. I can't even express in words how good he is. He is extremely good in the my Stardust deck, the one that summons a whole bunch of big boss monsters. I'll go into that in a future video. But it's almost imperative to run him in this style of deck because of the extra summons that you will be able to do as a result of his first effect. Just make sure you don't mess up. If you want to bring out a Stardust... Oh, okay, I need to actually talk about that. During the main phase, quick effect, you can tribute this card. Special summon 1 Stardust Dragon from your extra deck. This card, this is treated as a Synchro Summon. So that means that if Stardust went to the grave, after being summoned as a result of this, you could actually Monster Reborn it, because it does count as a Synchro Summon. Then immediately after this effect resolves, Synchro Summon 1 Synchro Monster using materials you control as material. The reason why this is so good is because if you had like a Mistletoe just sitting on the field, because, you summon ducks, and then you bring out the Phalanx, then you sack Phalanx to bring out the Mistletoe, then you bring out the Phalanx, you take your ducks and your Phalanx, you make your Vajrayana, bring back out the Phalanx, then you take your Phalanx and your Mistletoe, for instance, and then you would make this guy, the XL Synchro Stardust Dragon, and then, oh, that's it. You've got your 1 Synchro Monster and your Vajrayana Synchro Monster. That's it. I ran out of tuners. Nope. This guy brings back that Phalanx onto the field. Now you can take your Vajrayana and, oh, actually don't do it yet, because in order to get Stardust Dragon for free, what you have to do is then activate his effect, which brings out Stardust Dragon, and then immediately you have to Synchro Summon. So you get Stardust Dragon. Now you take that Phalanx that you just brought back with XL Synchro Stardust Dragon's effect. Take that Phalanx and the Vajrayana, make Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and you've got Stardust Dragon for free! And then you've got, let's say your Assault Mode activate face down. You end your turn. Now your opponent has to get over a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, which can negate monster effects and can up his own attack, right? And a Stardust Dragon Assault Mode. That's the reason why this guy is so good. I run 2 Stardust Dragons because I run 2 Stardust Dragon Assault Modes. How often do I summon both of them? Often enough that it justifies the means. How often do I summon him, period? Quite often. Yes, that is definitely a true statement. Barca, the reason why he's so good, I think I mentioned this before. When he is summoned, he can equip all of your dragons, Dragunity dragons, to him. So that's like multiple tuners. He's like the mother of all dragons, well, Dragunities at least, because he gets to cradle them in the spell and trap zone until they decide, oh, I'm mature enough, I can come to the field now. And let's start doing some extra synchro summoning. It's amazing. And then, of course, 3 Vajrayanas, you have to run 3 of them. And then a Tum, he may even be coming out. It used to be, back in the day, I ran Red MD, Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, in order to make an easy Stardust. I would overlay my Mistletoe and my Vajrayana that, after I just brought back Phalanx, I'd overlay them into a Tum. A Tum would bring out Red MD. Red MD would then, the monster that I just detached to activate a Tum's effect, I'd have Red MD special summon that back with that Phalanx that was still on the field, take those 2, and make a Stardust Dragon. I don't really do that anymore. That's the reason why I'm thinking about just removing a Tum altogether. Probably put him back in Gay Dirge, in which case I need to take that off of eBay right now. And then you've got Dragunity Knight Romulus. You can make him with any combination of cards on the field, because it just requires 2 Dragon and or Wing Beast monsters, except tokens. If this card is Link Summon, you can add 1 Dragunity Spell Trap or 1 Dragon Ravine from your deck to your hand. I've summoned him sometimes to summon Dragon Ravine, and, or not summon it, to bring it to my hand. There was, I think one time I did it so I could get Dragunity Glow to my hand, but that was because I was like up against the wall. And not in a good way either. It was, I was fighting for my life. But he also has another effect. If a dragon monster is special summoned from the extra deck to a zone this card points to, you can special summon 1 dragon or winged beast monster from your hand in defense, but for the rest of this turn, its effects again cannot be used. Okay, I've never used that effect before, but I guess it's a good thing to stay aware of. And then if you're finding that you're not getting your Dragon Ravine fast enough and you really need it, you can throw in a Metaverse. I tried it with Metaverse and I was like, wow, this is just so totally not necessary. I ended up already having like a Dragon Ravine and just discarding Metaverse to activate its effect. So that's the reason why it sits in the side deck. I already told you about how I use the Solemn Brigade versus Dark Ruler No More. Let's go ahead and jump into the replays. I'm sorry that part took so long, but I'm very passionate about Dragunities, and they do require a bit of explanation because you need to make sure you're getting full advantage of their capabilities. I loved using it back then, and I love using it now. So look at this hand. If you're going second, this is a terrific hand. You open up with Dragunity Whirlwind, then you can go for your Assault Mode activate, then you can activate Dragon Ravine, ditch the Coos to bring out your ducks. Okay, well, you're not going into Stardust Dragon Assault Mode, but necessarily, not with this hand. Let's see what the 6th card is, but first we have to let them go. Yeah, I mean, there's... I don't see them getting over this combination. That's 2 monster effects and then any effect being negated That, oh, I also used to run this guy, Alpha the Master of Beasts. I don't run him anymore because he's not necessary. I used to only run one of him. He is so totally not necessary, but he might be a good side card, a side deck card, because you can target any number of Beast, Beast Warrior, and/or Winged Beast monsters you control, return them to the hand, then return face-up monsters your opponent controls equal to the number of cards you return to the hand. So that could be pretty good, but he can also do a free special summon. Must first be special summon from your hand. While the total attack of all monsters your opponent controls is more than that of monsters you control. He's really only good in that sort of situation. This deck dominates so often that I almost can never use him anymore, so I took him out. So this was me dueling against my friend's Supreme King Zark deck. Here's where you would want to summon Barca. And then you can negate a spell or trap. Well, actually, I think... Hold on, let me check real quick. Oh, so they have to activate it. So if it's already up on the field, unfortunately, that is unfortunate. And that's also back when I was running this shit, which I found out real fast that it sucks. There you go. That was freaking terrific. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Okay. Big brain Dragunity. I do love big brain moves. Oh, here you go. You go for the Mistletoe, and then go for the Barca. There you go. That's pretty well how you do it. And then you've got your Ravine Zephyros combo. Yeah, once you have two Stardust Dragon Assault modes on the field, you really don't have to worry about anything. I mean, they'd have to have a pretty sick hand in order for it to actually matter. Hold on, let me see. Over Adventures, and then I'll go to the 2. There you go. Game! Dude, his ability to keep banishing over and over until you feel like you're in a comfortable spot and then just OTK. This card is so good because there were additional Dragunities that I could have obviously banished if I needed to keep going. And then this was the second duel against them. See, even if you're in a pinch, you can still pull yourself out of a sticky situation. Oh, this is when I was testing out the Dragunity Divine Lance. which I found out was a good ad. There you go. So, like, at that point, I was so lucky that I had that Dragunity Whirlwind in my hand, but that card is so freaking good. I love it. Well, let me see. How many more? Okay, we only have a few more. Oh, it was still back when I was running that too. I would still say that it was a much better idea for me to remove the red MD and not really rely that much on a Tums effect, because of what I was able to put in there. I felt like it gave me stronger combinations in terms of summoning stuff from the extra deck. Yeah, so I decided to sacrifice my hand in order to, like, what I knew could potentially come for the OTK. Oh, this was my friend running the Dragoon deck. So now he has to decide what he's going. Okay, he just. Haha! I fooled him. Now I will make him pay. God damn it. This, okay. Back in the day, at least if Stardust Dragon's effect was negated, You could actually use Stardust Dragon's effect because he tributes himself and then his effect activates in the grave. And I thought, because you can't negate the ability to tribute yourself because that's a cost. I thought that was the same thing with this guy, but I guess not, because his effect didn't activate. Either that or YJ Pro was fucked up back in the day. At least that's what I was told, is that you were able to do that because it was a cost rather than an effect. But I was not able to, I don't think, negate his effect. Take that, bitch. Dude, when he summoned the Mirror Jade, I was like, I got this. And then when I destroyed the Mirror Jade, I was like, oh shit, I forgot that Mirror Jade's effect doesn't activate until the end phase. So it says that if your opponent makes this fusion summon card in your control leave the field, you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls during the end phase. Whew, thank God there was no end phase. That's pretty well it. I'll take you back to the deck one last time. And this is it. This is what I've been working with most effectively. And other than probably taking out now the Atum and putting in the Gay Dirge because of his ability to quicker bring Zephyros to your hand. And actually, I think... No, he's a Beast Boy. So just mainly the Zephyros. And then potentially a tuner if you've got something else in your hand that you don't really want. Or a specific tuner sometimes as well. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Talk to you all in the future. See ya.
That's it. I'm shutting you down.